Um, Good. Well, so we're recording. So welcome everybody, and particularly very warm welcome to you, Janet. It's lovely to see you on here again. Lovely to catch up with you. Um, and I can't just for the life of me recall the title, but essentially, you were going to talk about your journey with the principles, and there was something along the lines of there and back again, and I'm really looking forward to hearing what you're going to say. You're one of the people that I met early on. I feel really privileged that we've been friends for quite a number of years now. It seems impossible, but there it is. Um, I've really appreciated that friendship, your warmth, your wisdom, just hanging out with you, the fun that we've had, and I'm delighted that you're joining us tonight, and I'm really looking forward to hearing what you're going to say. So I'm going to hand it over to you now, and also to say to people, let's hear from Janet for a bit, but please do ask questions, make comments, come in. It'd be lovely to hear from you too.
Brilliant. Christian, thank you so much. Thank you for that introduction. And yeah, our friendship has been wonderful. I met Christian very early on in my three principles journey, and there was just a synergy, not only personally, professionally. So we started off professionally in criminal justice, and as Christian was a judge, but as time's gone on, just the way in which we dovetail and come together, and we've worked together as well. So yeah, really valued your friendship as well. So thank you, Christian. And I'm really excited to be on here because it has been a while since I have done any interviews around the three principles. So it's been great. For those who don't know me, I don't know if you know me, Linnea, if you've heard of any of the stuff, or anybody else who's going to listen in. So I'll do a really brief recap. My background was in probation as probation officer, criminal justice in the early 90s. And in probation, we learned cognitive behavioural therapy techniques in the main, working with our offenders. I love working with offenders, but then as you progress within an organisation and you get more removed from the work you're actually trained to do, and then managing staff, which seemed to be a nightmare at times, which isn't something, I'm completely honest. Right now, I'm just like, I don't care. I'm just saying it as it is. And so my passion in my heart has always been about developing people, for people to live their best life. That was it at the time. And so I left, set up my own business into 2003, JR Training and Consultancy. And as a result, learned what I thought were all the best personal development, behavioural change techniques. So in leaving the probation service, I then learned NLP. I'm a master practitioner of neuro-linguistic programming. EFT, the tapping, so I'm a practitioner of emotional freedom technique. I've tried something called the balance technique, things about energy, you name it, I have tried it, because I'm thinking there's something else, there's something better. And it wasn't until 2010 when I came across the principles, and I wasn't looking for the principles per se, because back then the principles wasn't out there. Hi Catherine, I was looking for something to help me make money. That was it. I got married, things hadn't worked out, we didn't have a child or anything, so I thought, okay, then let me focus back in on the business. And so it was looking at getting my master practitioner of NLP. Then I came across Jamie Smart. And it was whilst I was on that program, I'm thinking, this feels a bit different. This isn't all about try this technique and go and do something. This was more about wisdom and being innate. I'm like, And it resonated with me. I thought, okay, this is going to be far easier than trying to learn a bunch of techniques. If this is innate, this is going to be easier for me to make money. That was the take I was going with. But little did I know that embarking upon that program, it wasn't just about learning how to make money. It was understanding more about myself. And when the story falls away, it's what's left, what's running underneath, what's that energy that's flowing underneath. So very quickly after joining Jamie's program, I then went on to One Thought with Aaron and Mara, their first program in London. So I was part of the first round of training with One Thought, which was amazing. Met so many amazing and wonderful people. And I knew that this was something that would change the world. That's why I stuck with it for so long. There wasn't anything else. It's innate. We already are this. We already have this. So what else is there? So even within the principals community, I was part of One Thought, and then went over to Salt Spring Island and went to the school there and spent some time with Chip and Elsie and Jan. It was, phenomenal. Because then I thought, okay, I want to focus more on the spiritual nature of it all. And so I was just like completely immersed within the three principles community. It was wonderful. I was having insights. The Janet who I thought I was completely fell away, to reveal this person who I kind of knew, but didn't really know. And also because of my religious background, so I was a very religious, into Pentecostal Christian church at one point. So the spiritual element of it really resonated with me. In 2011, I took the three principles into the probation service in the UK. So I was working with groups of female offenders and just teaching them what I knew at that point, which was about their thinking, how powerful thought was. And it just made huge differences. And I was very, successful in getting different contracts within criminal justice between 2011 and 2013. And people may have seen Rebecca Bozeman. She was one of the first women on one of my first programs, and she's phenomenal. She's absolutely phenomenal. But by 2013, having run numerous different groups with female offenders and doing one-to-one coaching as well with clients, I started to feel stale. I'm thinking, I am not enjoying this work anymore, but there isn't anything else. And I don't know what else to do. It really was like, So what I do know is that there isn't anything to do. What I do know is that this moment will pass. What I do know is that I don't know when it's going to happen. So I just not kept doing, because what also happened at that point was that the contracts within criminal justice dried up, because they then went private sector as opposed to being government led. The contracts that I had then started to dry up, and so it's like, well, what do I do? That following, so I think 2013, 2014, I had a few clients, but wasn't pushing the work, because I thought, this doesn't feel right. I'm not giving people the best of me, the freshest of me, because that's what I've always learned. Be in the moment, give what's best for the people who in the group in that moment. And it just wasn't feeling that. It was feeling rehearsed. And so in 2015, I think, I was hanging out with then Rudy and Jen and Dave Ellery, because Keith and Valda were coming to the UK to do some work. So I went, okay, what's the worst that can happen? In my arrogance, I've got these three principles thing down pat. Let me just go sit in there, hang out in the feeling. It's going to be awesome. And I sat, listened to Keith, and I'm like, hang on a second, where's the feeling? I'm not getting the feeling I'm used to. And that's when I was first exposed to what people are now calling the single paradigm. And it really rocked me, because the way in which Keith and Valda virtually shared and spoke about how you could teach the principles, it blew everything that I'd ever learned out of the water about everything that I thought I knew about the principles got absolutely leveled. After the first day, I felt like I needed to get drunk, because I didn't know what I was going to do. I couldn't leave because there wasn't anywhere else to go. And so I sat patiently and listened. And it felt like I'd heard the principles fresh and new again. And so for about 6 months after that, with any private clients, it was like just pure single paradigm. Where do you think your feeling's coming from in this moment? It was very clear, it was very easy, and the client seemed to have an insights and depth of understanding so much easier and quicker than I had previously. It was phenomenal. It was amazing. But still, it felt like something was missing. To me, it felt like the spiritual element was missing, and that was about how I was interpreting it, how I was seeing it. And so, again, just sitting and reflecting, what came to me one day in 2015, what came to me like mid-2015 was, hang on a second, Sydney Banks was the only one that actually saw these principles that clearly. Actually, now when I'm reflecting on it, to me, Sydney Banks actually experienced God. He was one. There was nothing separate. And then everybody else is doing the best they can to try and explain that. Sid then said he had this insight and then spent the rest of his life trying to talk about it and teach it. And so everybody else is just doing the best they can with what they have. Why don't I try doing the best I can with what I have? So from about June 2015, I stopped listening to anything from the Three Principles community. If what Sid was saying is that this is already me and this is already within me, I need to hear this for myself, fresh and new. And as a result of that, I then started listening to other things. One of the books I read, You Can Have It All, by Alan Watts. It seemed to me that actually this person was actually saying what resonated with me. I started to focus more on the spiritual, because I come from, I suppose, a cognitive aspect, from the Pranskys, from Aaron Amara, talking about the principles and the metaphors and focusing on that. But when I actually listened to some of Sydney Banks's early stuff, we're talking about Christ consciousness, he said that there was only ever one principle. And so it was me looking to that. And in looking in that direction, what happened was that I started to explore more about identity, that I am spirit, that I am God in motion. It was that, it's like, it's not that mind is present, I am mind. There is nothing outside of God. There is nothing outside of that. And so what happened for me was more and more experiencing the spiritual nature of all things, knowing that I am that and there is nothing outside of that. And it was really fascinating, because whilst on that journey, my marriage came to an end. Even though I was living with my ex-husband at the time, it was navigating my way through that, going through a really horrible financial ending towards the end of that. Any of the business initiatives that I was starting to try as well between 2015 and the present day all fell through. And having an understanding of the metaphors, of the principles, wasn't enough. It wasn't cutting it. Okay, I know my feelings are coming from my thinking right now. I'm very clear about that. But that's not helping this situation. It doesn't make me feel any better. But understanding and knowing that I am spirit, understanding and knowing, when I'm saying that I am God, understanding that I am infinite intelligence, there was a peace. Rather than trying to work out what this feeling was and having an understanding cognitively what it was, in knowing at the source, I am fine, I am well, I am whole, I am complete. There isn't anything else. It brought a calm. Now, I'm not saying that I felt better all the time. It just stilled me at moments. I started to, I know very early on when I used to speak about the principles, I used to say about the matrix, how we're living in a matrix. In understanding that I too am energy, that I was the energy behind the matrix is the matrix. And so it just gave a different quality, a different feel to the experiences that I was having. And so now in 2018, being in this journey where everything that I ever thought and believed to be true, I mean, even in 2016, so in 2015, when I turned my back on the principles community, in 2016, early on, it was one of the questions that came to me was, what if I were not the Janet I thought I was? And as a result of that, that led me to walking on the Camino with Linda Ramos, because I realised that the ego, the persona, the Janet that I'd created through thought and behaviour and reinforced day in, day out, year in, year out, was only an illusion that I created so that I could navigate this experience, have this experience here. In recognising and knowing that I am constant because of the energy that I am, that the Janet, the avatar that I've created can be changeable and movable moment by moment, that life is a game. I saw it. It wasn't just a platitude. It wasn't just oh yeah, it's a game and our thinking changes and It wasn't that. I'm recognising that if I am all things and am source, then this is a game. It changes very, very quickly. So 2016 was a stripping of the Janet that I'd created for over 46 years, to actually playing with the illusion and knowing that I'm not one fixed thing. And 2017, so after my divorce in 2016 and in 2017, it was just like, I am just joy and happiness. Not I'm going to be happy, I am these things. So let me just live and be. I remember listening to some of the early teachers like Linda Pransky saying that when they used to go and listen to Sid, and Sid would say to them, just go and live, just go away, go and do your thing. And it was to be the energy, to be life source, not to try and create a living. And so as a result of just being happy, just being, I've met this amazing partner in my life now. He's just phenomenal. Peter's just wonderful. And he too came, we met together online, but he had said that he had made a decision that he was just going to be happy. And that was it. And because I too just wanted to be happy, we're just happy together. I said also about my business ideas as well, which had fallen through. My trade is as a probation officer, and so I returned back to my trade as a probation officer and thinking, you know what, had enough of the principles, don't need to teach it. I'm an okay probation officer. Let me just get my head down, and I've got all of this. I understand how it all works now, how life works. I can just get on with my life and be happy as an officer. But clearly the deeper parts of me wasn't going to have that. So every time, being on different contracts, I'd be looking at different groups, cognitive behavioural therapy based groups that they were running within criminal justice. I'm like, that's not going to work, right? And I couldn't stay quiet. So it was interesting. Whilst I was on my contracts, I would work with my caseload on a one-to-one and just share with them, saying, look, let me show you who and what you truly are. It's not even teaching somebody about the principles. Let me show you how magnificent you are. Let me show you how amazing you are. And then once you have an understanding of that, let me show you how these metaphors you've been using in order to create your experience moment by moment. Let me just show you that. And it was such a different way. I mean, you used to see, because some of these guys, and I've been around criminal justice for over 20 years, so some of these guys, they've heard it all. They can teach me cognitive behavioural therapy techniques. They can teach me the wheel of change. They know everything. They need to know every technique. When I said to them, you are amazing, whole and complete, and you are far more than you think you are. For the first couple of weeks, it's like, yeah, Gemma. But by the third week, it's like they start to listen, because I'm not giving them a technique. I'm not giving them anything. I'm not even teaching them the principles. I'm saying, I'm teaching you truth. I'm pointing you to who and what you truly are. And look at what you do with the power that you are to create your moment, to create who you think you are. So even in my probation contracts, which were, I thought were financially led, so I just needed money. Clearly in those moments, there were some offenders that I would meet, and I'm just like, you know what, I was meant to be here for you today, because no other officer could speak to you and where you're at right now. I mean, there were a couple of guys who were fasting, who were looking at non-duality. These guys, they went, Janet, we've not been able to speak to anybody about these things before. And we were able to speak, to them where they were, so that they could look at who they were and what they were in that moment. So yes, where I am right now is about looking at relaunching different programs, training programs in the community, not just in criminal justice, because in being still, in listening to that which I am, what I realize is that my evolution, being awake, is directly connected and linked with working with others as well. And I want to experience more of the energy that I am, more of the God that I am. And in doing that, it's about working with and bringing others with me. And so that's where I am right now.
Stunning. No, yeah.
I don't know.
Mind blowing. I'm just saying mind blowing. Yeah, just great, Janet, just great. And were you about to say, would anyone like to ask questions?
Yeah, if there's any question, and I was just like from there and back again. So it's interesting because there is, and we know this, there isn't anywhere to go. There isn't anywhere to be. It's about being here. But in being here, it's about also understanding, when I say it's not who you are, what you are, what you always have been, and how we then turn up and express ourselves moment by moment.
Yeah, I just loved your honesty and your description of the evolution of how you see it differently, and it's interesting how there have been parallels, even when we've been less in touch about our respective journeys. But it occurred to me what you were describing was, well, when I came to the principles, and I sensed there was something similar with you. There was an end to searching, but then at the same time, it's not like a end to searching because it's not an arrogance, but sort of knowing that this is where the answers lie, and then within that there's a deepening and an evolution, and seeing, just it's extraordinary. It is extraordinary to me how it's been quite a few years now since I've got into this, and I took the same thing from what you were saying of how profound insights continue to be, and all the way it's like, huge burdens just dissolving, or I'm speaking for myself here, just to more and more freedom. And I liked what you said about that. You didn't use these words, but that even our personality is largely a construct, but that underneath that there's something more beautiful, more perfect, that I can come back to reside in. It's not about losing anything. It's or not certainly not about losing anything value. That you know that the real the essence within is a you know a place of peace and joy. And yeah, lovely. Thank you. I identified so much. Got so much out of that, and it isn't what I expected you to say. So.
I just said to Christian yesterday, I went, Christian, is there anything that you want me to say? Is there any format? No, just go for it. I went, okay, this is it. This is it. Mm-hmm. So, are there any questions or any comments? Anything you disagree with, or you're thinking that's absolutely crazy or wonderful, whichever? I'm more than open, more than happy.
Hi, I'm Jeanette.
Hi, Jeanette.
Nice to meet you.
Hi, Jeanette.
What I'm hearing is that you're in kind. It feels for me that you're in kind of awe of the God-likeness that we are.
Yeah, I am in awe, and I'm also kind of coming to terms and seeing it as normal. Because this is what we've always have been. It's just that I haven't recognised it before. And I'm like, oh my gosh, look how amazing, phenomenal we are. This is amazing. And then I get up and I brush my teeth. And I'm like, hey, I've got emotion doing this. This is awesome. And even when I, still feel I want to kill my ex, because I have those thoughts. They're still there. And I'm like, hey, I'm still got emotion, still wanting to kill him. It's amazing. And then there are moments. I was on the beach in Portugal, and I was listening to another book, The Impersonal Life by Joseph Brenner. Amazing. It's and to listen to on Audible. And I was walking along the beach, and towards the end of the book, it says, you and I are one. You are God. And I just stopped and looked out to the water and looked at this, and I'm just like, I am all of this, and this is phenomenal. I am God. Oh my gosh, the power. It was in a moment I was so overwhelmed by realizing what I was. It just took my breath away. And then, later on in the day, I'm getting drunk. and I'm still got emotion. So, yes, Jeanette, I at moments, I am completely in awe of what we are. And other moments completely forget. And
I love that. I recognize that for a part, yes. And I was wondering, you're saying you got still and you kind of looked within, and at the same time you named some titles of books, and from what I find myself doing lately is looking from what I learned about God, not very religiously, but still a personal God, what he says about him and us. So that's, for me, partly it is looking, I don't know whether it's totally within or it's without, or a communication with God, or so that's my way into stillness, perhaps. So I was wondering, how do you find not per se stillness, but the answers or the evolution, or
it's really interesting, because I suppose it's only when you start reading around and these different books and they term it evolution, when you're starting to experience more of yourself. It's fascinating. One of my friends, she's an energy healer, and we were doing this exercise the other day, and she said, oh, focus on love and focus on what love, focus on something that's been loving or you feel loving towards. And in that moment, what made sense to me was like, well, love is an emotion. What do I truly want to focus on? Being present, being here, being God. Not even that, just being present. And she had this, and when I'm saying about being present, it was literally be here now, nothing. There was nothing going on. And she had this kind of monitor which measured your heart rate or your energy or something. And it had a constant beep. And she says, what did you focus on for your love? And I said, I didn't focus on anything because I am love. I am all of these things. And because we try and put words to what this infinite intelligence could be and to try and attach emotion to it. And there is no emotion. It's a neutrality. When you're present in the moment, there isn't a feeling of love. It's not, for me anyway, it's not this overwhelming feeling of emotion. It's just a being, a stillness. And so when she said love, I heard still, present. When she said radiate that out to more people, I just thought, if I am more present, then there's more power. And wherever that power wants to go, it will radiate. I don't need to determine where, because everything, all things, everything, we're all connected. So it doesn't matter where that power goes. So when you said about evolving or in speaking with God, there are times when I still pray, I still meditate. There are times when I think that inner voice comes back as a different voice. And I don't question it, because right now I just think, okay, there is no separation. There isn't anything different anymore. So whether it wants to come in a male voice, female voice, a feeling, whatever, it's all the same thing. And I learn from that.
Thank you very much. Yeah.
Thank you.
Thanks, Jeanette. Catherine, were you about to come in there?
No, but I will, because you asked me.
I saw you unmute yourself.
I've just enjoyed the conversation so much and resonated with so much, Janet. My grandfather was a Pentecostal preacher, and so my early childhood was steeped in, although my mother left when she was 17 to get away and she sort of sent us off to church and lived within that context, or that the influence of that way of seeing the world. And what I've loved at this point in my life is I've always felt that I was on a spiritual journey, but was deeply engaged in the humanness of my experience. And for me, coming across the principles was just was another part of the larger picture of my understanding of my experience. And it's really been beautiful, because I feel like nothing has to be avoided. I just feel like everything has become integrated in this moment, in who and what I experience in this moment. And I ran away from fundamental Christianity for a long, long time, and went sort of on the other. It was something that I pushed away, and now I just find this beautiful integration of the truth that Sydney Banks talked about, that's everywhere. And that our own wisdom actually illuminates the truth. It's not outside of us, it's our own wisdom wakes up within us, and then we start to see the truth everywhere, because it's being illuminated from within us, or we're not at all separate from it, as you said. And I just have so much gratitude for that, that there's this feeling of oneness that I experience that isn't just a nice concept, but in very practical ways. It's brought all of my experiences and integrated them, and I see how beautiful it is. And as you said, your journey is really interesting, because for me, I came across the principles and it was, oh, this is it. Like, this is what explains it all. And then I thought I had to talk like a 3 principles person and be like a 3 principles person. I realized there's so much along the way. Byron Katie. Now my wisdom brings verses from the Bible and illuminates them, and I see the truth, and it relates practically to things in my life. And Sydney Banks himself said, when you start to see this, you have to find your own way of sharing it. You know, the truth is everywhere. So I love, love, love listening to your journey, Janet, and just so happy that Christian brought you here to be with all of us. So just a real pleasure and joy in life to be knowing that we each have this within us and we can share it in our own way. It doesn't have to be the way anybody else is doing it. And there's a beautiful, beautiful coming home to ourselves in that. We're perfect. We're a perfect expression of the divine, each one of us. And thank you for affirming that in sharing your own story for me. I really appreciate it. Lots of gratitude for that.
Thank you, Catherine. It's wonderful. Just listening to you speak as well, it's just been beautiful, just hearing you just say that. So thank you so much. Thank you.
I just want to say one more thing as life unfolds, and I'm in a little wee community up in Canada, and as we find and express our own truth and find ways to be in service to love, to the divine, however we want to talk about it, that will draw people to us. I gave a talk last night in my community, and I too went back to doing my own job, what I've been trained in, and doing things just to get some income and get some money coming in. But I realized that wherever I am, I'm sharing my level of understanding. I'm sharing always in every encounter the level of consciousness that I'm at. And so it's so beautiful to be in service to that. It doesn't matter. You don't have to, if you want to create your own business, beautiful, that's wonderful. But we're always sharing we're always sharing.
Yeah, absolutely.
In whatever capacity we find ourselves in. So it's really beautiful. We can sort of relax and be at ease and let the next step come to us. Engage with that fully and see where it leads us. So anyway.
No, that's wonderful, Catherine. And it's true, because in seeing the probation contracts now, yes, it's, and I see it as the money, but even like I whilst I'm there, just not only with the service users, but with the staff as well. So it's quite a stressful environment. There's lots of change, and just, like I said, just being there changes the environment.
I love that. It's so true, because the walking in and being at if we say a higher level of consciousness, just being freer, being more lighthearted, being engaged, having a certain amount of clarity, not getting caught up in the drama in the way I used to. I don't even realize how that's impacting people. It's just normal, as you said, but all of the people around me are feeling the difference. And often they will let you know that, and then you go, wow, I can just be myself here with an open heart, and it's having an effect, it's having an impact. And it's a beautiful thing to see where that will take us, and to also know that as our own understanding increases, we will be sharing that with the world around us, and we can trust that as well. Yeah, I love that. I love relaxing into that. And I feel very humbled by that as well, because it's not something that we have to try and do.
That's right.
You know, it's going on and it's happening, and that love within us is rippling out in ways we often can't imagine. So, yeah, that's a beautiful point that you made. I love that. When did you shift? If I have a question that came up, when you shifted from, are you shifting back to feeling more like you're going to be teaching something in particular when you talk about developing programs and developing your business? Or
yeah, what I feel is happening now, and I'm in the process of, because again, yes, creating new programs or products, but again, it's what I feel is about pointing people back to what they are, so they can remember what they are. So so rather than let me teach you this,
yeah.
It's about, here's a space to help you to remember. Let me not just point you in this direction. Have an experience of being this which we're talking about. You know, you're not using the principle. You are the principle. You are this power. So let's experience that. So it's more of a, experiential route I'm taking. It's like, let us take a journey to what you already are, so you can remember what you are. And when you remember what you are, you can then see what you're doing, who you are, what you are within this whole universe. So there's a number of things I'm planning at the moment. If people want to stay in contact, I can, I haven't got a website or anything at the moment, just an email address. I'll keep people informed with what's happening, what's going to be happening. But that's what,
that feels exciting, Janet. So I'm very happy for you. It'll be good fun to stay in touch and see how that unfolds for you.
Yeah, thank you. Wonderful.
Janet, I'll put your email address on under the recording, or you can give it here, but I'll do that. And thanks, Catherine. Great to see you. It's just occurred to me. So we've heard from Jeanette in the Netherlands. Is that right? And Catherine in Canada, and we've also got Christine, who's up early in New Zealand. Christine,
wow!
Are you? I don't know where everybody else is. Christine, are you going to say something?
I can say yes. I'm in my pajamas. Apologise, but it is quite early here. Although daylight has now turned up, so that does feel a little bit easier. So thank you. Really, just appropriate for me at the moment, and getting beyond the thinking thing into remembering who I am, and that's just a powerful reminder for me to take with me today, particularly as I head back into the classroom as a teacher. So it's a very pointy end of the year for us as students are heading into assessments, and it's quite challenging in the environment. Just being there with everyone has got their own stresses. So just maintaining a place of being amidst that is it's a good reminder for me today to remember who I am.
Nice.
Thank you.
Thanks, Christine.
Great to see you. Thanks for getting up at 4, getting up 4-6, not even at 6. Good to see you. Good to see you. And Jan, I think was Eleanor trying to come in there. Eleanor, were you going to say something? I'll unmute you. I've unmuted you. Oh.
I just said I'm in Birmingham. That's all. Nothing.
Oh, you're in Birmingham, so you're close at hand for Janet.
Yeah, I am. I'm up the road.
And here's Chris from Scandinavia. And we've got Linnea. Where are you? Oh, hang on, I'll unmute you. There you are.
Thank you. I'm cooking dinner. I don't want to disturb.
I am from Sweden.
Oh, you're from Sweden. Wow.
Yes, and I want to say that your story was very inspirational, and it is things that I also have reflected on many times, but sometimes you easily forget it, and it feels so good to hear someone saying things that you also have reflected on. And yes, it's very inspirational. Yes.
Excellent. Thank you, Linnea. Thank you.
Linnea, whereabouts in Sweden are you?
So, in the north part.
Uh-huh. Oh, well, it's great to have you on the call. What an international bunch we are.
When I was reading the description of this meeting, it sounded very inspirational, and I thought it was very important to hear.
Oh, good. Well, thank you for being here. It's lovely to meet you.
Thank you.
Hey, Chris.
Hey, I'm in Denmark.
I know.
Sorry, I didn't really hear that much, but I'm
That's okay. Yeah.
happy to see you anyway.
Yeah. Oh, fabulous.
I'm going to the conference next year in London.
Okay.
I'm going to be a photographer again.
Nice.
Together with Doris, so maybe I'll see some of you.
I'm
That
sure
would be a nice thought.
Janet, we've got a few minutes left. I don't know whether you would like to say anything else in light of the comments that you've had, or anything else that's come to mind.
It was interesting listening to Linnea, what she said, and said that that what I've said has mirrored some of the thoughts that you've had, or some of the reflections, and I think what I'm noticing, particularly with a lot of my 3 principles colleagues, people who started when I started, there does seem to be this up and down, this journeying of being closer to what we've first learned, and then looking more towards a spiritual non-duality source aspect of this. And so I think it's great that we have these conversations. I think it's great that when we start to question those things that we think and know to be true, that we can also be open enough, to speak with people and say, look, this doesn't quite feel right now, or it's not resonating with me right now, and being able to step away and not judge or feel to be judged either. So it's great that Christian's created a forum here so that we can have these conversations as well. Absolutely. So I said, if anybody wants to stay in contact with the changes or whatever I'm doing, my email address is janet@janetrhynie.com, so it's really simple. So yeah, and anybody who has any questions, if anything after this conversation I've had with Christian, if anything comes up for you and you want to reach out, just email me. I'm more than happy to have conversations, just to talk and just to converse with people, and it's great. Thank you, Christian, for giving me the opportunity just to come on and to share my experience. So.
Thank you for doing it. I really appreciate your time, and it's lovely just to hang out with you anyway. And I'll see you in person soon, I hope. I will put your email address on the notes under the YouTube recording, which will probably go up tomorrow. Thank you all very much for coming along tonight, for joining in, and Janet, thanks again. It was wonderful.
Fabulous. Thank you.
I'm just gonna stop the recording.